Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void Podcast. I'm Enrique with my co host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran military spouse and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Well, thanks, Enrique, and thanks for being back as well. Happy April as well as we going down this path of great leaders. We're joined with Marc Coley. He is the founder of the Marc Coley Business Academy from the Atlantic metropolitan area. Marc, tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you guys for having me here. It's an honor to be with you guys today. A little bit about me. I am from rural Georgia. I typically use Columbus, Georgia. I don't know if you guys have heard of that area before as an identifier of where I'm from because it's still about another hour and some change out. So I'm from a very, very small area called Morris, Georgia, which is super rural. So I'm a country boy at heart. I went to the military in 2011, chose the Navy, served 7 years in the Navy, and as you guys know, when you're up choosing orders, you're trying to get that destination that you really wanted. And for me, it was to Atlanta. So I put in my selection, and God blessed me where I was able to get to Atlanta, and I've been here since getting out of the military in 2018. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur my entire existence before it became cool. Before everybody and their mama was an entrepreneur, I was doing the work. So this is a little bit about me.
Outstanding, and I appreciate your naval service as a Navy senior chief myself.
Come on.
It is nice to have you with us on the show, but let's talk about your business academy because this is very interesting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So, as I said, I've been an entrepreneur since high school. In fact, in class night, my peers said I was a little guy with the big ideas. So it's kind of always been embedded in me to create, even if I didn't really have a clear understanding of all of the ups and downs that come with business. Um, a few things that I did. I created a t-shirt line. I created a consulting business. I created a marketing agency. So I've kind of done a little everything. So in 2018 or 19-ish, um, I kind of got a little, I don't know, I had like a pivotal moment where I was getting frustrated with my style of delivery and my beliefs and how I wanted to show up in the world. I started to feel like I wasn't embraced by other communities or other spaces, and I said, I've always been an entrepreneur. Why don't I just create my own stage? I think I was getting in this space where I was waiting for the validation of others and needing them to bring me in to create my own space when I've been creating my own space. So I decided to reach out to a few friends. I told them what I wanted to do. At that time, I had just got out of the military. So, that transitional phase is a little interesting because most of the times you may not have a job. You may have a job. Some people do, some people don't. And so I didn't have the capital that I needed in order to start what I wanted to start. And so I reached out to a few friends, put my ego to the side, and a few of them started to donate. And I posted about it on social media. Uh, Without knowing that it would take off like a wildfire, and I would I think we closed out with like raising fundraising like $4,000 for me to launch the Marc Coley Business Academy. And with that money, I did my first event here in Atlanta. I think it was in April a few years ago. So we right in the same month. And I did like a tour as well. I went to Chicago, I went to New York, I went to Columbus, Georgia, and then I came back here to Atlanta. And then we started what we have now as a virtual hub for entrepreneurs centered around spirituality, personal growth, and personal development intertwined with business development.
I'm just so sad that no one gave you that space, right? So you
Yeah.
can partner with them because obviously what you're doing is phenomenal work, Marc. I
Hmm.
love it. Before entrepreneurship was cool, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and you talk about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about challenges or lessons learned of entrepreneurship.
Building something naturally is difficult. Building anything is difficult. Being a self-motivated individual is difficult as well. So some of the ups and downs, even in my journey of being an entrepreneur for a while, I still encounter ups and downs. But some of them, I think one of the primary ones that most people start off with is nobody supports me. You know, that's a big one. You know, especially family and friends. You know, it's typically when we start our big vision, the people that we share it with are the people that's closest to us, which is naturally our family and friends. And when they don't hop on board or when they don't do certain activities that we deem as supportive, we get discouraged, we get disgruntled, we take to social media, we complain. So one of the biggest hurdles that I had to overcome was letting go of the need of family and friends to support me and understanding that business is business. They didn't give me the vision. They didn't give me the charge to do the vision. They didn't, say, hey, go do this and we're going to support you. So I had to, one of the first hurdles was releasing that pressure, unspoken pressure that I was putting on people around me to support me because they had relations with me. So that's a hurdle. Another hurdle is sometimes throwing all of your energy and passion into a project and having to come to a difficult conclusion that maybe this is not going to work. And so entrepreneurs oftentimes face that in between space where maybe a little bit more faith, maybe I haven't tried every strategy, maybe I need to go a little harder. And sometimes those difficult decisions of maybe it's time to pivot to something else, because typically we get married to ideas and visions and dreams. And when I say married, meaning like it's cemented in us, like this is going to happen. And that's the same energy that we need in order to manifest great things. But it also sometimes can slow us down as well, because sometimes there's times to shift based on the market, based on consumer activities, based on a global pandemic, and based on just so many different things that entrepreneurs experience. And sometimes a challenge, even in this space, is knowing when to pivot to something else. So those are just right off the bat some challenges that you face. And not to mention, sometimes it's very lonely as well. When I was transitioning from the military to full-time entrepreneurship, I knew I was always destined to be an entrepreneur because I was an entrepreneur before the Navy. Um, and so, but based on things that I started to see on social media and conversations that I had with other entrepreneurs, I started to feel that I wasn't valid unless I was fully invested in my business without the assistance of a 9 to 5. And so that pressure pushed me into full-time entrepreneur. It's kind of like to flex my muscles. Like I'm a real entrepreneur now since I don't have a 9 to 5. Uh, and so you do that and you don't take into consideration that 9 to 5s give you community, it gives you structure. There's somebody typically to tell you, hey, this is what you do. There's typically procedures that you go through. And overall, there's community, you know what I'm saying? So when you fire your boss, because we had that big movement on social media, everybody's firing their boss. When you fire your boss, you also fire those components as well. You fire your community, you fire resources, you fire discipline, you fire so many things that you may not think you need until you get to the other side and you're all alone. And now you're the marketing department, you're the decision maker, you're the accounting, you're the taxes, you're the legal, you're the leads generator, you're everything for your business. So sometimes we're not prepared for all of those titles, and we just look at the shiny object of I have time, freedom, and I get to make as much money as I want. And we all know it's sometimes not that simple.
And sometimes there's nothing at all, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's a real talk right there. Some
Yeah.
challenges for entrepreneurship, indeed. Besides the fear, the doubt, the change that will come
Yeah.
through the different ups and downs of entrepreneurship. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
sharing that. Now, you already started this thing, right? Now you're
Mhm.
down this road. So, what's on the horizon for the Business Academy?
I've had so many pivots since starting. One of the first things that I did, I wanted to when I started the academy after we did the tour, I wanted to build a community. I'm really good at building a community. I think that's one of my natural gifts. And so I was ready to build a community. I wanted to build something similar to um, membership base. And so I also consider myself to be somewhat of a forerunner. So sometimes my ideas are too ahead of technology. So sometimes I have to wait until technology can do what I envision it doing. So one of the first things I did was I started a membership community, and I decided within a few days I wasn't ready, so I canceled it. I started having people sign up for it, so I was like, I'm not ready. Nothing's laid out, nothing's prepared. I'm just excited because I want to start something. It was kind of just the excitement of it, and so I paused on that. And I, outside of that, I started wanting to build. I don't even want to say to build. I started wanting to wake up at 6 a.m. And so I tried many attempts by myself and it wasn't working. And so I called a few friends and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. Would y'all mind hopping on and we'll do like this accountability call? And so we started doing that and it slowly morphed into getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because initially we were on Apple FaceTime, and this is when they had just released that update where you can have multiple people on FaceTime. So it was very glitchy. And so it was growing and it was getting glitchy and, it was really without form. So I decided to put it on a Zoom call, add more structure to it. I did that for a few months. It continued to grow. And then I decided to turn that into a membership. And one of the first programs that we rolled out that we did for the last 3 years is called the 6 a.m. accountability call, which morphed into morning acceleration. And I've trained probably close to about 200 entrepreneurs through that program where they wake up, hop on a Zoom call similar to this, and we go through their goals for the day. We're reading books together. We're giving each other, encouragement, advice. So yeah, that's essentially what took place right after that initial launch. I kind of went through a little figuring it out phase, and then it morphed into something of its own. And so that's where we at now.
I mean, I think you've been back to the future, man, because you think about things before they even happen. So I love hearing about that. And that
Yeah.
6 a.m. call, that accountability is so important. And look what it grew onto. And
Yeah.
we love to hear what's coming next, as
Yeah.
well. But and in addition to that, what do? Talk about leadership. What do you do to sharpen your skill sets that aids you to thrive in your professional life?
I read a lot. Um, Well, let me change that. Some people don't like when you're an auditorial listener or learner. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Let me clarify. Some people say it's not the same. I think it's the same, but I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Typically daily I'm listening to something. So if I'm not listening to audiobooks, I'm listening to something on YouTube where I have a daily playlist that I just listen to, and that helps me. And I'm also not going to downplay that I believe I'm just naturally inclined to lead. No matter what space that I'm in, I naturally somehow become the leader. And you can go to spaces and you can see that guy that wants to be the leader, and they got it all over them. Like they trying their best to be lead or lead people, and that's never been the case for me. I can literally be in the back somewhere, and it's just like I just have a natural grace, if you call it that, to lead. So um that's yeah, that's where I sharpen my leadership. And I think that, along with just the natural gift of leading, just helps me to stay as I would like to call myself a good leader, but until we do a survey, is the jury is still out.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is that you bring the influence. And hey,
Yes,
if I tell you that you can have a room of leaders, but there's no influence, ain't nobody
yeah,
doing that.
that is so
So,
true,
so
so true.
good on you, brother, for doing that and identifying that within you. You spent some time in the Navy. You've done some time in entrepreneurship. What advice did you receive, either or those two environments that you would like to pass on to an emerging leader today?
One piece of advice that I received in the military, it was for my personal journey. I was actually preparing to get out right after I got off out of deployment. So on my first tour, I was making plans to exit. Like, yeah, I'm getting out. I had all these ideas, and I had a chief at the time come to me, and she pretty much pulled me to the side. She had saw me speak in church while I was on the ship. She said, "Coley, I see you." I'm like, yeah, we see each other, But she said, "I see you." She said, "You're an individual that you've mastered how to do just enough to impress people." And she said, and it's been a few years, so I'm going to word it a little different. But essentially, she said that there's more in you, but because your bare minimum impresses people, you've learned that, and you take that and you use it for your advantage. And she said, I would just encourage you to give it your all, whatever that is. And that has, as we're talking about it now, has stuck with me for several years, because I've always thought about that. Like, I think sometimes when you are in a space where you do something, even though internally you could do more, you can show up sharper, you can prepare more, and you see that impresses people, you kind of get conditioned to always operate at that minimum level, because there's no incentive for you to take it a notch higher, because I'm impressing you here. So why give it my full caliber or my full energy? And so it just always stuck with me. So I would love to leave that as um, a piece of advice or encouragement to an emerging leader, that just because the bar is mediocre doesn't mean that you have to stay there. You can literally, in today's culture and time, do 1% more than most people and literally blow everybody out of the water. And so just don't get comfortable in that space of, oh, this is enough. Sometimes doing more is actually better. It just separates you from the herd. So that would be the advice that I would give.
No, that's phenomenal. Avoid that complacency, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying. 1% better. Your full potential is always the best, right? So
Yes.
give it.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that Chief recognized that in you and brought it out. So
Yes.
that's so cool.
Yes.
Also, love to hear about a most memorable leadership aha moment that you had either in the Navy or through entrepreneurship too.
Yeah. I've had a lot of aha moments, especially within my academy. Of My business model incorporates a lot of spirituality, and I didn't really see that a lot in the marketplace. So I didn't really have a lot of people to glean from. And it's okay being a trailblazer, but sometimes you're just like, oh, I wish I would just have a template. And sometimes you are that template that you're looking for. And so, with incorporating spirituality inside of my communities, one aha moment that I had was that I don't own people. And I'll explain what I mean. When you build communities and you're seeing people grow and thrive in those communities and those safe spaces that you fostered, you just assume that they'll always be there. You assume that you know this is where you're going to grow, and I'm going to help facilitate that growth. And I never took into consideration that I'm only a part of someone's journey. I'm not always going to be the entire piece of the journey, if that makes sense. And at that time, I didn't come to that conclusion until people started messaging me, about a year or so in the program, hey, Mark, I've grown so much. And people would message me crying and, different things, and saying, hey, but I think I'm good now. And as a leader that has cultivated this community, you feel like you're losing people. Like, and then I started taking it personal, like, what did I do wrong? Am I not good enough? So their their growth and their need for something else, or maybe something more that is outside of my wheelhouse, aha moment for me was that I don't own people, and two, that detachment shouldn't be a reflection of something that I've done. Maybe they've just outgrown this space, and that's perfectly fine, because just as they migrate to another community or another space or another phase in their life, they're opening space for somebody else to come along. And I should always have this open door policy versus this cement of you're here and you're going to stay here forever, you know?
Yeah, I love that. We're a part of people's growth, not the reason
Yeah.
for their
Yeah.
growth, right? And
Yeah.
so sometimes we can kind of anchor ourselves to that growth and
Yeah.
say, oh, that, no, you got to take it all. I got to be with you all
Yeah,
the way through,
exactly. I
right?
got to see you
But
all the way
but
through.
but hey, but even Moses had to stand up on a mountain, look from
Hmm.
afar, right?
Hmm.
And he was the greater leader that I can recall. But
Yeah.
so great share there. Now you spoke a little bit about challenges and pivots earlier. So, what are
Hmm.
certain strategies that you use with yourself or with the team during those times of change and challenge?
Um, as I said earlier, I believe that I'm a forerunner. I believe that I just naturally have an innovative gift to see what's next. Um, I personally believe, and I've been feeling it for a while, that with the rise of like AI and artificial intelligence, that's only going to increase. Uh, and with that, I think there's going to be an even greater longing for communities and for real, tangible uh, connections with people, authentic connections. And so I dropped most of my programs inside of my business academy, and I focus on just one program. It's called Mastering Life with Marc Coley. So it's a master class that I do every single Monday, 7 a.m. And so I just focus on that now. That's my primary focus. Whereas in years past, I had classes, live classes that I would teach, had virtual work parties, just multiple things, offerings for people just to meet them wherever they are. Uh, and I just decided just to kind of just have one thing. This is it. I'm considering bringing back my morning acceleration program, but I've also pivoted in that as well, where it's no longer just for entrepreneurs or visionaries, for just anyone. And it would just be more centered around meditation, affirmation, gratitude, and just doing those types of things, because I think just in the coming years, I think those things are going to very, very much be prominent and needed in our spaces just to protect our mental health. And so, yeah, those are some pivots that I have been taking, just to keep business flow very clean, very structured. Like, hey, this is what we're offering, and this is who it's for. And do you want it? Cool. You don't? All right, cool.
Cool indeed, because it
Yes, sir.
is true. Building community and connections, especially human connections, is
Yeah.
very much something that we definitely thrive and need. And as you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, as an entrepreneur, it's lonely. So this is
Mm-hmm.
definitely a great place to start. We look forward to seeing, your academy all throughout the nation and
Yes,
even
sir.
the world. And it will happen for sure.
Yeah.
And folks that want to get a hold of you, Marc, or your business academy, how do they go about doing so?
Probably the easiest place to start seeing content and different things is you can look me up on YouTube, Marc Coley, MarcColey. Instagram, same. It's Marc Coley. Facebook, same. Marc Coley. I try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm in the process of updating my website, but the domain for that is marccoley.com. And so, yeah, and you can reach out to me at info@marccoley as well. I'm always available for bookings and seminars and master classes and virtual uh, conferences as well. So, yeah, I love empowering people. So that's how they can get in touch with me.
Outstanding. Now, we will have all that information as part of the show notes and video for you to get a hold of Marc and his academy. Thank you, brother, for being with us. And
Thank
I
you.
tell you, if you want to get a hold of us at the Leadership Void podcast, the Leadership Void at gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. If you want to hear a specific leadership topic covered or would like a special guest speaker, let us know by that means.
And also, we want to thank our sponsors, Triple Nickel, A Hero for Kids, and FAVOB. Today was all about Marc Coley. Thank you for being on the show, and much
Thank you.
success in your academy and your future, my man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.